Hey, have you ever thought about the existence of ghosts, witches, or vampires?
Oh, you mean supernatural beings? Well, to be honest, I don't believe in them. I think they're just products of our imagination and folklore.
Really? But there are so many stories and legends about them. Don't you think there might be some truth to it?
I understand where you're coming from, but let's look at it logically. Throughout history, people have always had a fascination with the unknown and the mysterious. These stories and legends often serve as a way to explain things that we can't understand or to add excitement to our lives. They're like modern-day fairy tales.
That's true. But what about all the supposed sightings and experiences people claim to have had with ghosts or witches?
Well, there could be various explanations for those experiences. Our minds are incredibly powerful, and sometimes they can play tricks on us. People might misinterpret natural phenomena or have vivid dreams that they believe to be real. Additionally, some individuals may intentionally deceive others for personal gain or attention.
I see your point. But what about the countless movies, books, and TV shows that depict these supernatural beings? They must be based on something, right?
Absolutely. These forms of entertainment often draw inspiration from folklore, mythology, and urban legends. They take these stories and embellish them to create thrilling narratives. It's important to remember that they are works of fiction meant to entertain and captivate audiences, rather than provide evidence for the existence of ghosts, witches, or vampires.
Fair enough. So, you believe that everything can be explained through science and rational thinking?
Yes, I do. Science has made tremendous progress in understanding the world around us. It has provided explanations for many phenomena that were once considered supernatural. As we continue to advance, it's likely that more mysteries will be unraveled, further diminishing the need for supernatural explanations.
I guess I can see your perspective. It's just hard for me to completely dismiss the possibility of something beyond our understanding.
And that's perfectly okay. It's natural to have different beliefs and perspectives. The important thing is to approach these topics with an open mind and critical thinking. It's healthy to question and explore, but also to rely on evidence and reason.
You're right. I appreciate your insights and the thoughtful discussion. By the way, are you afraid of ghosts?
Well, personally, I don't believe in ghosts, so I don't have a fear of them. However, I understand that some people do have a fear or phobia of supernatural entities. It's a common fear, and it's often influenced by cultural beliefs, personal experiences, and exposure to media.
That's interesting. So, even though you don't believe in ghosts, you don't have any fear at all?
Not specifically related to ghosts, no. Fear is a natural human emotion, and we all have different things that we're afraid of. For me, it's more about real life situations and things that I can tangibly experience. However, I do respect that fear is subjective and what may not scare me could be terrifying for someone else.
That makes sense. So, you are not afraid of ghosts?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I don't believe in ghosts, so I don't have a fear of them. However, I can understand why some people might be afraid. Ghost stories and horror movies can be quite effective in creating a sense of fear and suspense. Our imaginations can sometimes get the best of us, especially when it comes to the unknown.
It's interesting how our beliefs and experiences shape our fears. So, how do you feel when you watch horror movies?
Ah, horror movies. Well, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about them. On one hand, I appreciate the creativity and craftsmanship that goes into making a good horror film. The suspense, the jump scares, and the psychological thrill can be quite intriguing. But on the other hand, I can also find them unsettling and intense at times.
That's interesting. So, do you enjoy watching horror movies despite feeling unsettled?
Yes, I do enjoy them to some extent. I find the adrenaline rush and the suspenseful moments to be quite thrilling. It's like being on a roller coaster ride, where you know it's all just a temporary thrill and you're safe in the end. However, I do have my limits. I prefer psychological horror over excessive gore or violence.
I see. So, do you think horror movies can have any negative effects on people?
Well, it depends on the individual. For most people, watching horror movies is just a form of entertainment and doesn't have any lasting negative effects. However, some individuals may be more sensitive or prone to anxiety, and watching intense horror movies could potentially trigger feelings of fear or distress. It's important for each person to know their own limits and make choices that are comfortable for them.
That's a good point. Which horror movie gives you the most impression then? I am just curious.
Ah, that's a tough question. There have been many horror movies that have left a lasting impression on me, but if I had to choose one, I would say The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick. It's a classic psychological horror film that masterfully builds tension and creates a sense of unease throughout the entire movie. The performances, the cinematography, and the eerie atmosphere all contribute to its impact.
Oh, The Shining is definitely a popular choice. What specifically about the movie made it so memorable for you?
Well, there are a few factors that made The Shining stand out for me. Firstly, the way it explores the descent into madness and the psychological torment of the characters is incredibly gripping. Jack Nicholson's performance as Jack Torrance is haunting and unforgettable. Secondly, the setting of the isolated and eerie Overlook Hotel adds to the sense of claustrophobia and dread. Lastly, the film's use of symbolism and ambiguity leaves room for interpretation and discussion, making it a movie that stays with you long after you've watched it.
I can see why The Shining made such an impression on you. It sounds like a truly captivating and thought-provoking film.
Absolutely. It's a film that continues to be analyzed and discussed by film enthusiasts and critics alike. It's a testament to the power of storytelling and the impact that a well-crafted horror movie can have on its audience.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'll definitely add The Shining to my watch list.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoy watching it. Remember, horror movies can be a thrilling and immersive experience, so sit back, relax, and prepare to be captivated by the world of horror cinema.